When it comes to Jared Goff, he is no stranger to being criticized and he is no stranger to being doubted, especially when it comes to rankings and opinions of professionals. But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Pro Football Focus once again is providing a hypocritical ranking of the star quarterback. Stay tuned, everybody.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, all Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, here's the thing, folks. Again, this is going to be one of those episodes where, you know what, not really going to be a whole lot to it. Again, most people already kind of know where this episode is going, and on top of that, this is just kind of like, you know, for me, something that I am so used to doing by this point. Like, I don't understand why that for people in the NFL nowadays, people that try and make professional opinions in the offseason, I don't understand how they continue to doubt. I don't understand how they continue to be the way they are towards Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff. I don't understand it. This is the part about when I do these episodes that I just sit back, and when I'm making these episodes, making this content, it absolutely blows my mind. It baffles me how there are people who continue, after all the work that Jared Goff has done with the Detroit Lions of all teams, they continue to doubt him. Now, having said that, like I said in my introduction, Jared Goff, he's no stranger to being criticized. He's no stranger to being doubted. And let's be fair and honest here, he's no stranger to being constantly put low in opinion polls. But again, as Jared Goff stated, he is fine with it. And the reason why he's fine with it is because, like he said in his press conference when it was announced that he was signing his contract with the Detroit Lions for an extension, he feels that he plays best when he's being doubted. Now, that's fine for Jared Goff. I love that because that just gives him more fuel for his fire. That just gives him more fuel for his competitive spirit, his competitive edge. But my God, folks, I'm sorry. Again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I cannot understand how there are people who have these professional contracts with some of the biggest names in sports, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Pro Football Focus, whether it's the NFL. I don't understand how that there are people out there who get paid huge bucks to make these opinions, and yet sometimes they make absolutely no sense, or as is the case in this episode, they're absolute hypocrites. That's the part about this that I just don't understand. Now, obviously, we're talking about Pro Football Focus and a ranking they gave towards Jared Goff. I've already pretty much made that abundantly clear within the first couple of minutes here. So what the hell actually happened? What the hell actually happened was this. Pro Football Focus recently put out what they decided to say was their top ranking of quarterbacks going into 2024. And to be entirely fair and honest, a lot of people do this stuff going into a new football season. Chris Sims will usually release what he considers his top 40 quarterbacks. Jared Goff, the last couple of years, is ranked pretty low on that. PFF will come out and say, hey, these are who our top quarterbacks are going to be in 2024 heading into the season. And as I said in the previous episode, I'll put that link back up at the top as well. We had a guy who decided to say that according to his fantasy expertise, Jared Goff was the 22nd best quarterback going into 2024. But that was from a fantasy standpoint. Chris Sims, I consider him to be kind of like a realistically, he's just pretty much just a noise out there that's trying to use his name as a bell horn, and realistically, some people pay attention to him just because of the fact that his daddy was important. Otherwise, Chris Sims is a nobody. Then you take a look at PFF. PFF is how do I put this? They have some legitimacy because of the fact that a lot of teams use their advanced analytics to kind of get a better understanding about how the game works. I use PFF from time to time to understand how deeper stats are used, and I do put that in my content. But I will say this, I've always kind of held a very deep grudge against PFF because it always seems like that when it comes to the Detroit Lions and when it comes to certain players of ours, they always rank them way too damn low, and it's an absolute travesty. It really is quite disgusting and hypocritical from PFF here. And today's episode is going to once again highlight that that's no different. PFF, in their recent release of who the top quarterbacks are going into 2024, said very specifically that they believe that Jared Goff is the 16th best quarterback in the NFL going into this year. Now, here's the reason why. First and foremost, just at face value, that makes absolutely no sense. First and foremost, let's just once again, I keep bringing this up, but it's the damn truth. You're trying to tell me that Jared Goff is, in essence, an average quarterback. 16 is halfway between 32. There are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL because, well, there are 32 teams in the NFL. So what PFF is trying to tell everybody is that Jared Goff going into 2024 is the most average quarterback that there is because 16 is right smack dab in the middle. That's what PFF is, in essence, trying to tell me. But what makes absolutely no damn sense about this is just the simple fact of the production standpoint in terms of statistics, but also the fact of what Jared Goff did last year. I keep saying this. Let's keep going back down memory lane because this is why I can't understand this crap. Jared Goff last year was second in the entire NFL in terms of throwing yards. He had 4,575 passing yards. He had the 7th highest completion percentage. He had the 4th most passing touchdowns. He had the 9th highest passer rating, and he was 11th in the QBR department from ESPN. You're talking about a guy that in the two primary categories that quarterbacks are, judged on, that they are absolutely, criticized on, he was top 5 in. Passing yards and passing touchdowns. And virtually everything else except QBR, he was top 10 in. So wait a minute here. Statistically, from just what Jared Goff was able to put out on the field as far as statistics, Jared Goff was a top 10 quarterback last year. But let's just think about it from this perspective. From a success standpoint, Jared Goff got the Detroit Lions their first division crown in 30 freaking years. 30 freaking plus years. He gets the Detroit Lions a division title. That's pretty freaking damn impressive. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. To win with the Detroit Lions is an impressive feat because it's been so rarely accomplished. Think about it. In the entire history of the Detroit Lions, they've only had 5 division titles. Think about that. 5 division titles. And Jared Goff has one of those division titles. That's pretty damn impressive. But then think about this. Then Jared Goff gets the Detroit Lions their very first playoff win in 30 plus years, and then follows it up with a second playoff win in the same damn season, something that has not been done in damn near 70 years. So just in one season, last season, Jared Goff is able to do something that most Detroit Lions quarterbacks that have played for us have not been able to do at all. And then Jared Goff does even more unimaginable stuff. He gets the Lions all the way to the conference championship game. And Jared Goff, over the course of the entirety of the playoffs, is absolutely flawless. No turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles, has 4 touchdowns, absolutely has a humongous stat line as far as being able to play in the playoffs. When everybody says that he can't handle the pressure, when everyone says that he's unable to take the best that the NFL has to offer and he folds under pressure, Jared Goff stands tall, and if I recall correctly, he had like the 2nd best statistical line in the playoffs, maybe the 3rd, and he goes out there and he plays lights out. He plays efficient, good football for the Detroit Lions, and as I've said before, he has the Lions literally within a damn whisker of going to the Super Bowl. Literally that damn close. We were a freaking quarter away from being able to go to the Super Bowl for the very first time against the supposed, heavyweights of the NFC, the freaking San Francisco 49ers. Think about it. When we were going into that game against the San Francisco 49ers, everybody picked the 49ers to win. Everyone was looking at the Lions like, yeah, you know what? They're a good team. We think they got a bright future, but they're not going to beat the 49ers. There's no chance. And again, you go into the halftime period, the Lions are up by 17 points. That's in no small part to what Jared Goff was able to do. So I don't understand how Jared Goff doing all of that from 2023 gets him the number 16 spot, according to PFF. That to me is just absolutely asinine. How can Jared Goff do all of that just for the Detroit Lions, and then on top of that have the second most passing touchdowns, the second most passing yards, the fourth most passing touchdowns, the seventh highest completion rating, and the ninth highest passer rating in the NFL last year, be the 16th best quarterback going into 2024? Somebody explain that to me. That to me literally has no absolute any bearing whatsoever. Now think about this. Again, 2022, it's not like Jared Goff freaking just did this 1 year. He's been doing this for the Detroit Lions the last, realistically, 2.5 years. Because he did it in 2022. He had, again, a very, very successful, productive season in 2022. Actually, it was a top 5 fringe candidate season, really, in 2022 for all of his statistics. And then, for the last half of 2021, he's playing lights out as well. He was the third highest rated quarterback over the last half of the season in 2021. So for 2.5 years, Jared Goff has been a statistical machine for the Detroit Lions. It's not like Jared Goff's just all of a sudden done this out of the blue. He's been doing it. But what does PFF say about the justification for their ranking? This is why I call it hypocritical. This is why I call it in my title, disgusting. PFF actually admits, they acknowledge that Jared Goff had an extremely high passing grade according to PFF. If I recall correctly, I think he had the 6th or 7th highest passing grade from PFF last year. They acknowledged the fact of this. They wrote it in the article. They're saying, oh yeah, we realized that, Jared Goff had an 85 or whatever something passing grade from our analytical machine. They say they recognize that. They say they also recognize the fact that Jared Goff was a statistical, prowess last year. But the reason why they're saying that Jared Goff supposedly is the 16th best quarterback is because they want to continue to harp on the fact that supposedly Jared Goff does not have the ability to, supposedly evade pressure, doesn't have the ability to move around in the pocket as good as anybody else. And again, this to me is why I sometimes, as much as I'm a statistical nut about stats, when we get into these deep analytics, especially from PFF, I think these people just absolutely lose track of what is truly important here. Let's just think about this here. If PFF's main reason as to why they're having Jared Goff ranked so low, despite by their own admission being the 6th or 7th best PFF graded passer in last year, and despite the fact of the statistical production he's put up, not just last year, but all over the last 2.5 years, if the reason for why they have him ranked 16th being so low is because of the fact that they say, oh, well, in comparison to other quarterbacks in terms of his ability to evade pressure, in terms of his ability to move around in the pocket, and all these other things, here's why this makes no sense to me. Let's just think about how in the past there were other quarterbacks that when they had pressure applied to them, they also supposedly did not do very well. Again, I know that what I'm about to say might offend some people. It might get people upset. But think about this, folks. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, two of the best quarterbacks that have ever played the game. I grew up watching these guys. Two of my favorite quarterbacks of all time to watch. Peyton Manning was my favorite. But here's the one thing I knew about both Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. What was the best way to beat them? You had to get in their face. You had to pressure them. You had to get physical with them. And when you did, there was a much higher probability, there was a much higher chance that it was going to impact their ability to perform on the field. Because again, they're pocket passers. They're not able to move. Well, here's the thing, folks. I can tell you this right now. Jared Goff has much better mobility. He is much more athletic than what freaking Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were. Jared Goff, when he went to his freaking, combine and ran his 40, was substantially faster than both of those guys. He was also, again, you think about it. The reason how Peyton Manning and Tom Brady did what they did is because they were able to beat teams with their brains. They were able to outthink them. They were able to outsmart them. But never once did I ever hear out of any analyst that ever lived about how, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, they're not the most mobile quarterbacks, so if you just apply pressure to them, then they're going to fold up shop. No. Everybody knew that if you applied pressure to them, it was going to make them more difficult. But nobody ever once doubted Peyton Manning or Tom Brady's ability to play the game. So why is that the case with Jared Goff? Everybody knows Jared Goff is not exactly the most fleet of foot, but he's definitely faster and more athletic than those two guys were. We've seen Jared Goff be able to move in the pocket and get throws out under pressure. And oh, by the way, again, to once again highlight the hypocrisy of PFF here. I don't remember where the Thunder I saw this, but I know PFF was the one that decided to put this out. Over the last, I think, last 3 years or something like that? I forget the time parameter. But the point of the matter is that in the time parameter that this picture, if I can find it, I'm going to put it in here. But in the time frame of the parameter that this stat was put together, Jared Goff was the second highest quarterback in throwing touchdowns while being blitzed. Second highest. So, wait a minute here. PFF acknowledges that Jared Goff last year in 2023 had one of their best passing grades. They acknowledge that Jared Goff was one of the best quarterbacks over the last however many years in terms of throwing touchdown passes while being blitzed, while pressure is being applied to him. But yet their reasoning for why he's the 16th best quarterback going into 2023 is because of his inability to, essence, handle the pressure. But yet, once again, like I also stated, in the playoffs, when Jared Goff is under the most pressure, not only in terms of the NFL, but also in terms of Detroit Lions history, he is cool as a cucumber, throws no interceptions, has no fumbles, any turnovers or of any kind, and again, like I said, had the second or third best passing stats out of all the quarterbacks in the NFL for last year's playoffs rounds. So I'm just curious, PFF, knowing all this, why the Thunder did you decide to make Jared Goff the 16th best quarterback? Like, this is the part about that, for me, PFF always gets me hot under the collar, is that they know this stuff better than I do. They know it. They have access to more statistical databases than I could ever have in my life. But yet, every single year, they always seem to find some way to prove once again their inability to have an objective sense of direction when it comes to making their rankings. This is why I have a problem with PFF. Despite the fact that they're an analytics company, when it comes to their opinion writers, well, let's call it for what it is. They're booty cheeks. I'm sorry. Every stinking year, they always do this crap. And it's like, dude, how many more times do you want to doubt Jared Goff? How many more times do you want to doubt the Lions? How many more times do you want to say, well, we just don't think that they're going to actually hold up. We don't think they're going to be able to make it again. Well, I guess it's just going to take another year of you guys getting slapped around and being on your podcast and telling everybody, well, man, we didn't think this was going to happen, but here we are again. Like I said, I don't understand how PFF can put Jared Goff in the 16th highest ranking, which is right smack dab in the middle, knowing the fact that last year, per their own analytics machine, Jared Goff was one of the best passers, according to them, according to the NFL and ESPN, he was one of the best passers, and just from pure logical standpoint, he was one of the best passers and has been one of the best passers in the NFL for the last couple of years. And, oh, by the way, what was that stat that just came out? Jared Goff is the only quarterback to throw over 30,000 yards and not throw over 100 interceptions. Only quarterback in NFL history. But yet, despite all that accomplishments, Jared Goff is the 16th best quarterback going into 2024. Bull crap. Now I'm going to leave it at that. But anyway, folks, I figured I'd put this episode out because, I always get tired of people doubting my Lions. I'm very, very defensive of my Lions, and when I see stuff like this, I can't help but make content about it. I seriously just can't. But anyway, having said that, I'm going to end the content, I'm going to end the segment and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage all to watch the next episode. I also encourage all to please do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed, you've not had a chance to do so, again, highly encourage all please to subscribe. But I also encourage all please to do this. Make sure you also hit that bell notification icon at the bottom of the page, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but we want you guys coming back to the channel as soon as I push something out new, so that way you guys never miss any of the updates that I have, and the best way to do that is to turn on the notification icon. I also encourage y'all please to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel grows and spreads. And with that being said, to everybody, I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all have a great day. I hope y'all have something that makes you happy, makes you smile. I hope y'all enjoyed the content. And with that being said to everybody, God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the very next episode.